publicize in this paper when this application will come before this board again. Quick 5 minute break. Now they get their stuff out of here. New singular wireless.
Good evening. My name is Tracy. I'm from Dave Whitney. We're here this evening on what we consider a very easy application. We hope you do too. We're swapping out 6 of our antennas that are over on the water tank and replacing them with new antennas. We're putting in a UMTS small cabinet there and another power cabinet. Now I have my radio frequency engineer who can explain that it's technology, updated technology services and things like that. And I have my civil engineer that can explain it. Do you want to hear my radio frequency engineer? I don't know how much you want us to speak. I can speak for 5 minutes. I can speak for an hour.
May I ask a question just for the record, Ms. Levinsky? There was a little confusion on the application materials,
Yes.
and so just so the record is clear, your application tonight is to replace 6 antennas which currently exist on the water.
Yes, absolutely.
So you're not adding new antennas, and you're not going higher.
No.
You're just swapping out equipment.
Yes. So all we're doing is swapping out equipment and technology changes. I was the attorney that did the application in 1998, and technology has changed since then, so we just need more sophisticated answers. And I have my civil engineer here because they did instructions to make sure the antennas are a little bit higher. They're in the exact same spot, and they don't go higher than the water than the tank. But they're a little bit like longer, like it was like top and bottom, a little bit longer, but in the exact same spot. And it's just technology. UMTS cabinet is because of sophistication. The E911, now if you make an emergency phone call and you can't speak before, they have no idea where you are. With triangulation now and the new equipment and required by the FCC, they can actually find you if you just turn on your phone. So it's all technology.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just ask a couple of other questions. The new antennas that, at the time, I did take an opportunity to review the resolution back in 1996, and there was quite apparent from the resolution that there was a lot of testimony on the record at that time in terms of the radio frequency statistics and the information. Ms. Babinski, these new antennas that you're going to be installing, do they in any way are they governed by the federal laws regarding?
Absolutely. At the FCC, actually, the E911 is mandated, and we're at UMTS, is what it's called. We're in every town in all of South Jersey because it's federally mandated. We have to do this.
And do these antennas emit any radio frequencies that exceed any federal limits that might be established?
We're a very small percentage. It's not more energy. It's not higher energy. It's just different. It's just more sophisticated. The radio waves are still the same power level, which is just a fraction of what is allowed by the FCC. It is just new technology.
And so, Mr. Chairman, the reason I asked those questions was to help the board make a determination as to whether or not they felt it was appropriate for tonight's hearing, considering the limited scope of the application, to hear the radio frequency testimony, and it's your decision if you want.
I don't have a problem with not hearing the radio frequency information.
I'll give it a 5-minute version.
I'm good at that. And
In fact, maybe what we could do is simply have your radio frequency engineer stand up and say that everything you just said is true.
Mark?
Sir, your name, please.
My name is Mark Rubin, R-U-B-I-N.
And Mr. Rubin, would you raise your right hand? Oh, well, before we begin, let me not jump ahead, and let's actually do administration and place this matter on the record correctly. We had a few completeness items that had to be addressed. So why don't we deem the application complete or incomplete based on your determination. And then if the application is deemed complete, Ms. Babinski did notice for tonight, so we can then go forward to trial. Well, you might want to address the waivers, Mr. Sickles. Did you want to, Mr. Sickles? Mr. Mitchell. Hey, I just got off the airplane, give me a break. Do you want to address your waiver items and identify?
Surely. I guess the common theme of today is the environmental impact statement. Under this case, however, there's very little going on, and we have no issue with the environmental impact statement being waived. That's really it in terms of the waiver. The others are just pointed back to A as to what was submitted in the public.
Make a motion that we,
Second. Roll call, please.
Mr. DeTeodoro?
Yes.
Mr. Buchanan?
Yes.
Mr. Reese?
yes.
Mrs. Rivera?
Yes.
Mr. Thorpe?
Yes.
Mr. Sassy?
Yes.
Mr. Marini?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Frank?
Yes.
And Lisa, did you have an opportunity to review the notices to the property owners within 200 feet? And the notice published in the newspaper? And were they accurate and in order? Mr. Chairman, you do have jurisdiction to proceed. The applicant noticed tonight because she was applying for an amendment to the prior approved minor site plan.
And so I can have our video efficiency engineer just clarify or assert that everything I said was true. So Mark Rubin, can you please stand up again?
Sure.
And sir, would you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're going to give tonight is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And sir, would you give us again your name and address and professional address for the record?
Sure, my name is Mark, last name is Rubin, R-U-B-I-N. I work at AT&T located at 200 North Warner Road, King of Prussia, PA, 19406.
And Mr. Chairman, your engineer and your planner have been previously sworn and will testify in that continuing year.
And Mark, just quickly for the record, give me your educational professional background.
Sure.
Condensed version.
I have an electrical computer engineering degree from Drexel University. I was employed by Verizon Wireless as a design engineer for approximately 5 years, and then for the last 7+, I've been acting as a consultant in a wireless design capacity for AT&T, formerly Singular, formerly Cellular One, formerly Comcast.
And you testified in lots of towns in South Jersey as a radio frequency engineer?
Well over 100.
Okay, great. Then can you, everything I depicted to the board, is that correct? This is a update of our services?
Yes, and I'll be very brief. Singular Wireless is deploying a new technology, as Mr. Vinsky pointed out, called UMTS. Basically, this is a sophisticated high-speed data and voice technology that complements now and at some point will replace the GSM digital network that we have operational. For the last 2 years, we've been overlaying all of our existing sites with this technology, and here this evening we're looking to overlay the water tank across the street with the same technology. To do so, we do need, as Mr. Pinsky pointed out, a more sophisticated antenna to propagate that service and to provide that service to our subscribers. We do so by, as she mentioned more, basically as a similar looking and similar functioning antenna as the 9 that we have there now, but the ones that we're putting up are more sophisticated and are more capable, and they dovetail nicely with the new technology. So that's really what we're doing.
And we still comply with the FCC requirements with regard to energy output?
Yes, we're required, as a function of our license, to be well below or below the maximum permissible exposure limit set by the FCC, which was an equation or a calculation that was adopted by the IEEE, which is a technical body that provides the FCC with this information. And my experience with these types of applications, of which there have been hundreds, is that this facility will operate with AT&T's antennas hundreds of times below the maximum permissible exposure set by the FCC, which in and of itself already has a sizable safety factor built in. That is to say that, real quick, just to put that in layman's terms, if you were to physically be able to have 1,100 or 1,000 facilities like this co-located on this water tank at the same time, you would still be below the maximum permissible exposure